to Artist Revue. It's our monthly showing of emerging artists in our local community, showcasing their work, and we're pleased to be back with you. We have today a lovely young lady, and most importantly, she's a photographer. And for those who are fans of the show, know that photographers, for some reason, are reluctant to come on the show. That's all I can say. Because they can't be few and far between. Last year, I think we had a total of 1 out of 12. So far, we've only got 2. That second one this year, and we're near the end of the year. So, for some reason, photographers just don't want to show their work on the show. But I'm hoping that with the advent of the young lady you're going to see today, that some of those photographers out there are friends of yours may reconsider, so we can mix it up, because we like to have painters, are jumping at the opportunity. Sculptors, not so much either, but photographers seem to really shy away. But enough about that. We don't want to bore you with those details. The important thing here is that we do have a lovely young photographer, and we're going to introduce her now. Her name is Lindsey Roussell, or is it Russell? Did I forget?
It's Roussell. You did
Roussell.
It right. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Tell us, Lindsey, our big question to all of our guests first up front is, are you a native of our fair city?
I am. Born and raised here. I went to middle school and high school in Slidell, but my family is all from the New Orleans area. And
we won't hold that sabbatical over in Slidell again.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little about, when did you first get interested in art, and particularly, of course, in photography?
Well, art's always been very important to me. I was raised in a family that was very accepting of diversity, and art's always been encouraged. And I went to the University of New Orleans and graduated from there. And I went in as a freshman knowing that I wanted to be a photographer. And
wow.
I didn't change my major or anything. I just I knew that's what I wanted and just kind of went for it. So.
Well, is there a degree? There's not a degree in photography. What would
there is, actually.
Oh, okay.
My degree is in fine arts studio option, specializing in photography. So with the studio option, you either go art history or studio, and studio means you can do painting or photography or sculpture, any of those focus groups.
Thank you for educating us on that. Now, one other question, since you said your family was so understanding and supportive, were any of them artists of any type in your family?
I don't have any professional artists in my family, but artistically speaking, there's a heavy influence, everything from music to culture, just a broad spectrum of learning has always been important.
Now, in addition to pursuing your art, you currently are running a local uptown New Orleans gallery of fine art. And let's talk a little bit about that. Give them the name, the address, and the website of that. And then we're going to talk about your individual website. So where are you working nowadays?
Sure. I'm running a gallery. It's called Guy Lyman Fine Art. It's at 3645 Magazine Street. It's uptown. It's right next door to Lillette Restaurant.
Yeah, for those who watch our restaurant show, they'll be familiar with that.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And, we just kind of met, happened, it was a fortunate accident that we met. We were sitting outside of a restaurant, and he ordered a glass of wine, and this place happened to be BYOB, and I offered him a glass, and he told me that he'd just moved back, and it was really the start of my career, being able to be a gallery director.
Fantastic. And how long has it been open there? It's a relatively new gallery, right?
That's correct. It is new. We just opened in June. June 18th was our grand opening.
It's a great typical old home that was on Magazine. It's been many things in the past, even a men's store. That's what I remember it back. But it's perfect for a gallery. It's a typical wide open with just a center fireplace exposed that you can walk around. So it's really conducive to being a gallery, along with so many others on Magazine Street. What are the days and hours normally of operation there?
Sure. We're open Monday through Saturday from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And we're always open if you want to come earlier or later. We're both very accommodating.
Sure. Now, and one other question. Let's see, I'm drawing a blank here. So we talked about the actual website. Do you have a website on
we
the
do.
gallery?
We do have a website. It's www.guylyman, GUYLYMAN, fineart.com.
All one word.
All one word.
And
Guy
it's
Lyman,
art singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular. Okay. And on that, we'll also have obviously pictures of the gallery, but also maybe some of the artwork that's actually on permanent display. Maybe.
We do. We do a very good job of keeping the website up to date with what we have on the walls for the current show that's up.
And at the end of the session, we'll talk about the upcoming show. As for those who are familiar with our society in New Orleans, and we have a wonderful once-a-month gathering at all our galleries when they open up on a Saturday. But let's hold that to the end so people will know. But one last thing before we start taking a look at your work is, I understand you have a website for your own personal photography. Let's tell them about that and what they can find on there.
Sure. My website is www.504ever, EVER. And it's just it's newly put up, so it's in the rudimentary stages right now. But I have two collections. One, the full collection of the girls, which is you'll see once we start showing the images, and another collection from a much smaller collection. But it's really a work in progress. I'm designing the website myself and building things and balancing the gallery and artistic life is often hard. So I'm just trying to take things as they come.
Well, it shows you what a typical young lady of today can handle. They multitask better than anybody. Okay, well, let's and we'll come back there and give you those figures. Now, I noticed the director had put up the telephone number, so don't hesitate as we go through the show today to give us a call about any question you might have of Lindsey or the show itself. She'll be happy to answer those, and we'd love to get our callers, even if it's on a Wednesday afternoon. So let's go ahead, Lindsey, and start with our first photo, and we've got it up here on the easel, and it's something that most of New Orleanians are going to certainly understand and hopefully appreciate.
Sure. Well, I guess I'm going to take you through this work, not in chronological order or in order of importance. This is just really, it's grouped in collections. Okay. So I'm gonna ease in as not to scare off our early viewers here. But this one came, I guess I should start off by saying I use a lot of alternative processes. Okay. So this was shot with a camera that's called a Diana Mini. It's actually just a plastic camera. It takes 35 millimeter film and it shoots a half frame. So you're going to be getting half of the frame that you would normally get in a photograph.
Now, is that something that's relatively new, or is that really like an older style camera?
It's very old. It's a very old technique.
That's what I would assume, but I don't want to get that. Yeah. That's phenomenal. I never even heard about that.
Yeah, so
it's called a Diana Mini.
Diana.
Mini. All right.
And so this was shot on 35 millimeter film in black and white. And the size of this image is 12 by 18.
And of course, we recognize the subject as being crowded with them boys exactly. On a Sunday afternoon, perhaps, eh?
This was the NFC Championship game, actually.
Those were our days, eh?
And you can see it's nice that the jerseys in the picture actually date the photograph. So you can tell by the players who are featured on the backs of the jerseys that it dates it.
Well, I think that, that's especially for this game so important. I mean, some others might say, well, I don't want to see an older picture. Those people aren't even here anymore. But at the same time, for such an important event in the Saints' history, which may not be replicated again, even though we're all over.
Oh, gosh, let's hope not.
Yeah. It's really great. So therefore, you have some factual evidence to really document your photograph, and sure enough, as value increases, certainly that's a great thing to do. Anything else you want to tell us about this great photograph of the interior dome at our championship game?
I think that's good.
I think you said the dimensions, but go over it one more time because I missed it.
This is 12 by 18.
12 by 18. Now remember, folks, Lindsey's decided today not to bring anything framed because, again, sometimes you get fixated on that, and you see it in that one frame that it comes in, and even though it's the artist's choice and it's probably a wonderful selection, it may not be you for your home or your office or your your personal pleasure. So this way, seeing it in its natural state, you can envision how you want to frame it, how you want to put it in your place that you're going to hang. Okay, now what we're going to do is actually take a look at our second photograph, and why don't we take a look and tell us about this one, Lindsey?
This is shot using the same film, same camera.
Okay.
It's just, as I said, I don't want to seem disjointed with the collections that I'm showing. I just figured my work, this is almost like a work in progress, a progression of my work being an artist, and kind of where I've come and where I'm going, but in no particular order.
Right.
So this is just a.
Is that a street in Orleans?
This is a street in New Orleans. It's St. Charles. This is right by my house, and
about, without giving your address away, about what district is this of St. Charles?
Lower Garden.
Lower Garden district. Okay.
Lower
great.
Garden.
Great.
So
great.
this is. It was just. It was a beautiful night, and
Really?
we were walking for dinner, and I happened to have my camera with me, like I often do, and just saw this opportunity. There was no one on the streets, no cars passing by, and it just really. I don't know. It made for a wonderful picture.
Well, I was about to say, I was concerned that maybe this is like a post-Katrina film, something very close to post-Katrina where we saw no one,
Right, no.
'Cause this looks like those streets. And the important thing here is I just love the dynamic, and that's why I'm really gung-ho on black and white photography. Not that we don't have some magnificent color ones, but the drama that's caused by black and white, especially illustrated in this one with the shadows of the lights falling, not in a necessarily pattern, but almost a pattern like because of the placement on the buildings where it echoes on the wall and then forms a crescent shape on the sidewalk. Just really magnificent, and the little street light just glowing through the trees. Really, just I think a really. Now, do you title any of your photos, or you just strictly show them for what they are?
I title collections, not individual photos.
I understand.
This one is not part of a larger collection,
Right.
So there's no title. Not particular.
No problem.
But you were saying about the black and white, and I agree that I like the black and white mainly because it gives me the opportunity I can process my own film, I can develop my own photographs. Mm-hmm. It's something that you can't really do with color film because it's
give
quite
you a lot
dangerous.
more flexibility.
Right.
Great. And not only in just the lens, but also I even prefer it, which people really don't think I'm crazy, on photographs of portraits. I just think if you see it side by side, nowadays it's so easy to flip between a color and a black and white.
Right.
But again, there's just something about it, I guess because I'm old-timey, but to me it's something that just makes each photograph just pop out in regard to the drama. Now again, we said that this is the same size as the previous one, and why don't we go ahead and put another one up, and let's move into something a little different for the folk. Okay, here we go. And this is maybe a close-up, probably not to the same light, but certainly a street light, right?
This is a street light. Actually, this was taken in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was. I was drawn to the light because the architecture is so familiar. So familiar.
You would really, people would, I know no one would guess that.
I know.
Unless they're from Kansas and actually know that location.
Exactly, and it was shocking, really. I was taken aback with, not to knock Kansas, but there was just a social void. I mean, there's no people walking around. There's nothing really aesthetically pleasing going on there.
Well, now, tell me on this one, I'm really curious now to the architecture. Is this, you think, new construction made to look old, or do you think this was actually...
This is new construction made to look old. This is part of a new square that Kansas has, and it's kind of where they're trying to focus their entertainment area.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
They have shops and a movie theater and a big plaza to where they have music.
Oh, yeah. Well, everyone's doing it nowadays, but I think they were very effective here. Now, maybe in person it might not look. Maybe it's just a great drama of your photograph, but it certainly looks much earlier period than a contemporary structure, you know?
Right. This was the most interesting thing that I think I saw there.
And if I read correctly, is that a restaurant sign?
Restaurant, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And now this was more of a square dimension. Can we know size on this?
Sure. This is actually 11 by 14. I think the camera angle is warping it just a bit, but it's 11 by 14 inches.
Okay. And now what type camera is it? I mean, we're not using the same as before.
No, this is not the same camera. This was actually done digitally. I've just bought myself a digital camera as to welcome myself to the 21st century here.
Well, yeah, but a lot of photographers won't, so I'm glad to hear it, because I think there's a great mix of everything to be found.
Absolutely. It's good to be diverse and to be versed and able to use whatever medium that the job calls for.
It's all in the eye of the beholder. Or the artist is true artist because whether he has this magnificent multi-cost camera or a digital camera that everyone can afford, at the same time, it's what you're seeing and what you're capturing and the lighting and all. That's what really makes the photograph, as opposed to the equipment you use. Not that the equipment's not nice,
right,
but I think this is a very good example of one where you're taking an ordinary camera and really producing a piece, beyond the ordinary situation. So that's really great. Okay, let's say we have another one up, another black and white, and what would he have here? I'm sorry. Falling down on the job. We're getting too old here. All right, now here we have a color. So give you a little dramatic difference here. And wow, look at that color.
This is done. I've only brought on 2 color works because I don't. My main focus is black and white. I feel more comfortable. But again, with the alternative process with this is I used a lens to vignette, which gives you that dark outside edges.
Okay, that's
in a circular pattern.
Vignette?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was basically just if you can see the child is completely in motion and everything else is still.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just seemed like a really powerful piece, enough to where I stepped out of my comfort zone of having the black and white to include this as one of my works.
Well, I think 2 things. One, I have to ask: is this a local shot or somewhere else?
This is done in Lafayette.
I knew it didn't look local. But I think you were great at choosing the color because, once again, the vibrancy of the greens. I mean, it would be a shame to have that. Not that it couldn't look good in black and white, but the drama causing that. And the tree is dark enough, so the tree really, the contrast is almost like a black and white photo superimposed on the color.
Right.
So it really gives you a wonderful balance. And then, of course, having the young figure, running through the scene just really adds to the dimension of it. And it's a great idea to frame it in the circular mode. It just kind of gives you that flow of the shape of the tree,
exactly.
and the whole idea. I really, really like it. So I think you had a really good shot there. And what was the size again? I know 11 by 14?
11 by 14 will be the standard size for the rest of these. And then
we like to tell just in case, because sometimes it's hard to fathom from the picture. Now,
sure.
Wow, this is really magnificent. I love this one.
This is done with the same camera. This was actually in Kansas City. Gosh,
what I'm saying is,
2 of them.
You could almost visualize those letters spelling out SAENGER.
Right.
It is so similar to the Art Deco feeling and to the magnificent marquee on the Sanger Theater.
That is exactly what drew it to me.
That, like I say, had those letters not been visible, if there had been a way to make them less clear, you could. I know people would do double takes on this as it being the Sanger.
Right. It was just beautiful, and I saw it. And once again, Kansas. there's not a lot of people in your way, so you can basically take a picture of whatever you want.
So pleased you didn't come back with just a bunch of pictures of wheat fields. This is phenomenal.
Right. It definitely took some scouting.
Once again, is this contemporary, done retro style, or is this actually older architecture?
This is contemporary, done retro. Kansas City is really beautiful. I mean, it's, I would have never imagined how beautiful it is, but, they've taken a style that's close. I mean, architecturally speaking, it's close to New Orleans. I mean, there are buildings that are just, like you said, this looks like the Sanger.
My goodness. I mean, you really have to look up close to see that it's not, seeing that the letters are different. Now, what type of building was this? It was
the outside. This is, again, in downtown, and it was just the outside of a garment building.
A garment building.
It's called the Garment District.
I see it says Garment District, but I didn't know that was the actual district or something like that. But just magnificent. So they really have done are pretty good. Now, how long were you in Kansas? Was it just a short trip?
I was in Kansas for a short amount of time, just for a little over a weekend.
Good thing you brought that camera, I tell you. And again, this is that same dimension we talked about on the earlier.
11 by 14,
11 by 14.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and take a look at another.
So this is part of a series that I have where we're going to hold up the two of them, and then we'll focus in a little bit.
You can see both at the same time, but then we're going to describe one at a time. Can we get it like that? Is that correct?
I don't know if we can see on account of the glare here. This is from a collection called Double Exposed.
Okay.
We're getting into my I'm out of my soft pictures.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
All right.
And while you can't,
stuff is by the wayside now.
Right. While you can't actually see, there are no body parts that are inappropriate that are being revealed. It's definitely more risque. This is my call. My black blacks and white whites, and this series is called Double Exposed, and this is the collection I have on my website, my full collection. So
now
these are 2 of 12.
2 of 12. All right. Obviously, this is a female torso. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And now, is there a special process? Let's take a look on let's go ahead and zero in on the first one, which is, of course, the rear of the torso, but just magnificent dimension on here. And tell us a little bit more about it. Anything specific that you're doing to? Are you really double exposing things?
Well, that was more a play on words than an actual double exposure.
I thought so, but I just want to make sure.
But the images are inversed and reversed.
Okay.
So there you get 2 of the same, and the process that I did, I shot these with film.
All right.
And I just went in, and it's called burning. Burning and dodging is when you either allow the light to soak into the paper, which will create your images darker, or dodging, which is where you block the light from touching the paper so you don't get what's on the film. Wow. So what I've done is I've dodged the areas that would be considered, I guess, inappropriate, or just not inappropriate, but a little more forthcoming to show. And
so you could work for like TSA then, teach them how to use these new scanners that we're all going to be afraid of.
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
I didn't mean to make a joke of it.
Oh, that's quite all right.
But it's magnificent. I would have no idea that any of that would be visible at all in these magnificent portraits.
Right, and so they took a lot of work. It was a big project. I shot 4 girls, and I shot 3 girls, and there are 4 images of each girl.
Now, is this the same? I assume this is the same girl in both photos.
This is the same girl in both photos. It's the same photograph. It's just, like I said, inversed, which is color reversal. And then reversed, which is actually taking the image and
like
flipping it
image,
over
basically.
on itself.
Exactly. Really,
exactly.
Really, very, very shrewd. I just think it's a tremendous situation. Don't forget, folks, the director has those phones. Don't hesitate to give us a call, because I'm hoping you're appreciating as much as we have this wonderful photographer who came to us today and some of her great work. And as she mentioned, we put the lighthearted stuff for the family. We're going to get a little bit more serious, a little deeper, and hopefully you're going to appreciate more, which I did, than less as we move along. But this one is the process is just really well done, because as you mentioned, it's a little bit like some Rtist stuff when they would do that same mirror image, but again done in a photograph instead of a sketching, and much more contemporary. Now, may we ask, were these local models? Or again,
they are local.
Okay.
This collection of girls they were all friends of mine.
Oh, great.
Which kind of made them like my muses rather than models.
Right.
So it was very easy to draw from their energy since I know them.
Right.
And you'll see the next I put up is actually the other 2 that goes with these 2 photographs in this series.
I agree with you that, we, of course, a painter or photographer needs models, so wherever they can get them is fine, and as long as they do a good job. But when you have some type of connection with the model, that relationship or that connection always comes through, I think, much more significantly than just a paid model or someone who's casually known. And I think that's why this is so much depth, because not only have you created drama with the black and white and the reversal of that, but just you can just see the comfort level of the model here, so it really is great. Okay, now you have two more?
I do. This is the same series, so this would finish this particular model out.
And what was the series called again?
It's called Double Exposed.
Double Exposed.
And this one, I don't know that we're going to be able to get up the same way since they're horizontal instead of vertical.
Instead of vertical, huh? Well, I can maybe put my ugly hand behind it and hold it.
I think...
Is that all right?
You can slide over maybe a little bit onto my side if it's not staying up.
I think it's all right.
There you go.
Cutting a little bit off, if you don't mind, of the frame. Wow. And I think this one... so much. I think this one shows even more the drama of the reversal. There, the others, I think you could maybe say, well, maybe it's not the exact image.
Sure.
But this one really is fantastic. Let's talk about this one. This
sure.
Is really great.
The significance of this, well, the two pictures that you just saw before, when they're displayed on a wall, is they're in the center, and then each one of these is on the other side.
Each one.
Exactly.
I see.
So it kind of frames the shot and brings you in. And this, once again, same model, same girl, but this collection really was just. It was fun to make. It was fun to print. They were a lot of fun to work on. It was just. It's been my favorite collection to date.
I don't blame you. And let's talk a little bit more, and I'm going to make some comments too, but let's talk one by one about these. Let's take about the first one.
Fisrt off, of course, wardrobe was very important. Or lack thereof, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
The fishnets, I think, just add such a beautiful touch to the photograph. It's just
geometrical shapes, just really magnificent.
And you can pull in so tight, and there are certain aspects of each one that is. That draws you in more than the other one. Like just a color reversal. It's amazing what that will do.
And what I'm noticing compared to the first two, for those who remember it, again, it's still the black and white and the drama such, but it was more evenly dispersed. This almost looks like split down the middle.
Right.
Where one side, on y'all's left, on the audience left, you see the black predominantly from the major right side of the half.
Right.
And the light on the left. Whereas on the one on the audience's right, it's just the opposite. You see the light. You still see the light on the left and the dark on the right. So whereas before it was more dispersed throughout the whole photo, it's almost like a natural divider using the shape of the the lady's figure, to make that division. So supplement. That's why I think these two together form such a critical dynamic. As the other two are great individually, I think, as well, although because this one you can see how much this is alike, and really just magnificent that you could do that. Now again, is that same technique you talked about? The
same
dodging
technique.
and blocking, if I've got it correct?
Dodging and burning.
I got to remember. What's the last thing?
Burning,
burning.
To burn an image.
D&B, but I call it blocking.
Right.
Burning. Wow. Really.
Yeah, I don't know. These they came out better than I could have possibly imagined.
And in your
Oh yeah, please.
And in your history of photography, where does this stand? Is this very current? This is an older version? Is this new stuff? Or where do we stand with this one?
Well, to be honest, I started with this model, and I started this project probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I just kept building on it, and I knew that it was important, and I knew that I wanted to do something big with it, but I was just unsure as far as how to really execute it. And then I had this idea for the inverse and reverse, and it came out perfectly.
Oh, I think so as well. But I was thinking, some people can actually date it, but I think all art is an evolutionary process, and probably nothing is finished in an artist's eyes.
Right.
But at the same time, it shows you that it took this 3-year process to start the evolution, even though the idea came 3 years ago. So really, really neat. Okay, let's see what else we got.
Great.
And these are the same sizes, right?
Same size, 11 by 14.
Folks. So you got to think I don't know much about standard framing if you're not going to get. But I don't know. Well, again, I wouldn't know. I'm not good at dimensions, so.
The way I originally showed that project, it was 18 by 24, so they were much larger. They're very powerful.
I bet they are.
These are done to where they can be blown up very large.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. That's great. Yeah. Well, the drama would just increase with size.
It does. It does.
All right.
So
what do we? Oh, now this is.
Now this is a different take on on using a camera to your advantage. This is a toy camera that I got from China. And it takes 3 frames, or it takes 3 images in 1 frame. So
at the same time.
At the same time, it's got 3 lenses on it with a revolving, almost like a revolving door. So
is there an American name for this?
There's not.
For the process. I mean, that's the camera.
No, I don't know.
Okay,
perhaps.
I'm sorry to tell you.
No, that's okay.
Because I mean, I think it's fascinating.
It'll shoot 1, 2, 3 images in a row, almost in a 1 second delay. So it takes 1 second to make the full revolve.
To make the entire revolution.
Exactly.
Okay, and so where should we? So would the first one be the top left, or can you tell us how if you're seeing it? What do you think the order would be?
So if you're seeing it, it's actually the larger image, which I guess is on the viewer's right, is going to be the first.
Okay.
And then it goes around circular from that, so the bottom around to the top.
Okay, why don't we, if we can zero in on that large picture first. Let's study that as the whole picture, even though we're really talking about all three in one. But so in this camera process, this really would be the first one recorded.
Right, exactly. And when people are in motion, or if you're shooting people, or if things are in motion, because it has that 1 second delay,
they would be different.
Exactly.
That is so cool. So like the little boy running on the one with the trees,
would be in 3 different
he
positions.
might have 3 sections where the boy would be.
Exactly.
Phenomenal. Now this is this one of our western places? This is Louisiana. Don't tell me this is Kansas. Totally.
No, gosh no. Kansas doesn't have anything like
Kansas,
this.
yeah.
This is done actually out by Norco.
Okay. Oh, wow. I have relatives out there. How neat. Is that down in the spillway?
It's right before the spillway, yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Years ago when we were kids, the spillway was open for, actually, people could, I don't want to call it squatters' rights. I don't know how they did it. But you actually could construct, what they call them camps, but they were relatively homes for you to vacation. Even if they lived in Norco, they had a few miles away, they would have the summer home. And I know we would go up as kids, and you could, fish, you could do everything. It was just so cool. And of course, almost all of that was inundated by, all of it was inundated by by Katrina. And then I don't think they put more controls. I don't think it's just open as it used to be.
Sure.
But this is a mess. So how old would this photo be about?
This is post-Katrina. This is probably, this collection is maybe 2 years old.
Excellent.
And it was done in a group. There are 9 images in this group, and some involve people, and it's the real... I don't know. I was just trying to capture a part of Louisiana that people don't really get to see.
Right. Well, again, we even in the movies when they portray the Cajun life, most of those structures are almost not as good as Kansas did abruptly because they just look so artificial. I mean, this certainly looks true to nature and true to what we who are natives are familiar with. Now, again, on this situation, now I notice. Let's explain to the people how the 3 are like floating on a background. What is that?
Well,
we can explain that.
Sure.
I don't know if you can,
it's actually it's a full frame shot. Okay. Which means that everything that I took a picture of, everything on that one negative is visible. So I didn't crop anything. I didn't zoom in to show you, a certain part of it. This is a full frame, which is what gives that black border all the way around within the borders of the picture.
Got it. And now, again, I apologize if I call it incorrectly because I'm not really good at all this, but I would call this like a sepia tone. This is not a coloring,
yes.
huh?
Right. No,
so
it's
let's
not.
Explain, and please, if that's not the right term, correct me, and let's explain it to the folks, because it has the black and white background, but the actual photographs seem to have that brownish kind of auburn kind of tint.
Right. This was actually, the original project was stained with tea. It's an old way to give you it's an old trick to give you a sepia tone without actually having to use the chemicals to destroy your image, to break down the pigment and then add it back.
Wow.
So it was dyed with tea, and this is a reproduction of that because I had these printed digitally just for ease of transportation and
But I mean that just adds more to the import of it being, a period piece, something give it a little bit more age, a little bit more because of the outside weathering, and stuff like that. So, adds to the drama instead of doing just the typical black and white, putting that tea colorings really adds to the dimension, I think, of the photo.
Yeah,
really very cool.
Yeah, and because it's not because the camera it's such a modern style. The camera it's not like it was around 30 years ago or anything. It's just a new take on something old.
Excellent. All right. Well, you take it. Don't forget, folks. There's those phone numbers. Probably it hurts about it, but all this great pictures we're seeing today. I mean, I want to show these photographers how welcome they are to us. So don't hesitate. Please give us a call. Let us ask any question you might be interested in. But let's go ahead and move on. And here's this is magnificent. This is really pretty.
Done with the same camera.
Okay.
This is another. It's 3 images in one, and this was just. It's New Orleans lounging. Front porch lounging. It's taken side perspective, but because you get the 3 horizontal lines that break up these images, it's just it speaks loudly.
Really does. Typical Victoriana shotgun or double shotgun? Double shotgun?
Mm-hmm.
Probably uptown or somewhere in that city?
It is uptown, almost by Audubon Park.
By Audubon Park. Just beautifully done. And like you say, the balustrade or whatever the dividing horizontal looks like tubes just make add almost a 3D effect to it.
It does. It was the banister railing that I was shooting
I figured
through.
It was, but I didn't want to, without knowing whether you had done that deliberately or that actually was. But it actually speaks to the foreground, whereas the rest of the back, so it really comes out almost like I say with a 3D type effect.
That's exactly what I was hoping for, and because of the 3 different images on the one negative, it just makes it.
Each one is really different to itself.
Right, exactly.
It's amazing because you can see it's the same picture, but at the same time, each one looks like a different one to itself.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I think the other one was great. I loved it, but this. From a different point of view, from a technique kind of point of view, to me really brings out a tremendous level. Like I say, that I just can't get over the 3D look to this particular one. And again, is this part of a series as well, or is this just an independent shot?
This is, yes and no. This is part of a series that I did called Porches. And I displayed these.
How could we have guessed?
Right. I displayed these in old window casings. So it was, if you imagine a 4-panel window, and they were actually displayed, 1 photograph per window casing. And there were 2 window casings. So it was a big project.
Wow.
And it just, the porches all came together so nice.
I bet if this is any indication of it, I just can't imagine. That is really phenomenal.
And I'm sorry to just have small pieces of each collection, but I figured diversity would be better.
And folks, that's my fault because I asked her. And not that you don't want to see more of a certain series, but after a while, it does get a little bit, when you're talking about a whole hour show, it does get a little, I don't want to say monotonous, but all the rest are going to be like, we don't want you all jumping up from your chair and leaving because, the rest are all going to be the same. That's why I asked her to keep it to smaller series or whatever you call those, so you can see the depth of it, but at the same time not go overboard. And with this great variety, all that can do is interest you more. All right, let's move on. We got a few more left, I think.
We do.
Getting near the end of the show, but we still got a little. Now this is really, wow.
So this is a technique.
You sure this is not supposed to be like? No.
It's called.
Just teasing.
Called a photogram, which is where a photogram, which is where you take a light-sensitive paper and you expose it to light, but you. Almost in the same way that I was telling you about dodging and burning.
Right.
You place an object that you want to be burned. So whatever you want visible, you would place on top of this, and then you would shine the light source on it, so everything else turns black on the paper, and then what you have sectioned off stays white. So these are leaves and a stick.
I wanted to guess.
I'm sorry.
No, and I would be wrong. So I'd tell you, I really suspect the larger horizontal line to be a rope.
Oh.
It looks like a braided rope, especially as you look to, let's see, the audience is right, where you can see a little bit more detail.
Sure.
It actually looks like, a typical rope that's braided. I don't know what you call that, sisal or whatever. That's the way it spirals around. So to know that these are leaves, I'm lost. I don't see leaves at all. That's how blind I am, I guess. But I really love it because then it looks like it's floating over a river, and with the moon. And so it's just so it's what you see, as we said before. So go on.
And that's what I did, really. This was I did a collection of these, and I used all organic materials to try and reproduce something else, just to to try and bring photography just not from the camera. Well, I guess, clearly this isn't straight photography, but
right.
To bring the process of making pictures and developing film just into a bit of a different perspective, I guess.
Yeah, this is really getting to be the artsy stuff, the op art, the stuff like that, which is fabulous. But I mean, again, we're coming, I think, even though this is real stuff, more from reality based, more into the artwork, which I love. I love the combination of both. And you see very few of that within the same artist. It's usually one or the other. They're all the abstract or this type of direction, or back to reality. So,
right.
So it's nice to see that flexibility within you, and I just think really dramatic. Now, again, it's the same size, or this one a little different?
This one's a little bit smaller.
A little different, yeah.
This one is 8 by 10.
8 by 10. Oh, that's a great size for most people.
Exactly, and it's done on a fiber paper. So
okay. And what other type? I know you said these are leaves. What other type of natural ingredients did you use in some of the others? Can you?
I used lots of flowers.
Okay.
I used sticks and dirt. I used some seeds, just basically, and I just kind of went on a scavenger hunt. And then anything I found that had an interesting shape to it, I paired it with other things that found were complementary to, and created my scene from there.
Well, I'm a flower nut, so I would love to. Let's go back for a minute and stop and say, are any of the flower or any of these series on your website?
No, none of these are. I don't have. I know. The website will be, it'll be
basic,
fully encompassing soon.
Right. No, but I mean, at some point you might have some of these on
there.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, good. And let's go while we're talking. That website again. Did we actually give your website address? I know we gave
think
the gallery.
We did, but
let's give both. Let's take a minute before we see our remaining photos. Let's give both. Her gallery, which she represents, is www. Give them the gentleman's name.
Yes, it's www.guylymanfineart.com.
And it's LYMA single N.
Exactly.
And art singular. Okay.
Right.
And that's where you can see not only her stuff we'll talk about in a little bit, but also the current stuff coming and his permanent selection. All right, now let's talk about yours so that they can keep following this as you evolve and are able to get more of your stuff on here.
Sure, it's www.504ever.com.
So, very cute, folks. 50 Forever. The word forever, but using the icon 4. So 504 for New Orleans Forever. So what a cute title. Oh, look how nice our director got it up there for you, both of them, folks. Can't beat that. There you go. So either one, check both of them out. Don't pick and choose. I think you'll like both. Okay, now we're going to go ahead. I think we're down to our final 3.
We are.
Now, folks, what we did here is that she really pulled a fast one on us because she brought 3, and I'm going to say postcard, that's the wrong size, photos. And what we did was kind of sneak ahead because we didn't want them falling in my clumsiness in trying to get them on the easel for you. So our director was kind enough to take the photographs individually before we started the show. So now you can really see it up close and it won't be any clumsy movement, etc. So now these are really going to get your eye, folks. So you're going to be lulled a little bit in the sense of, well, he's back to the normal porch and stuff like that. The last one is really going to be a diner, so please don't turn off now. And if you want to call now because you don't want to call after the last one is. That's the one that's going to trigger all your emotions. So let's bring up that first one, Mr. Director, and Lindsey, tell us about it.
So this is a series that, well, first off, I should tell you why I made them so small.
Excellent.
Because it was a very personal collection.
Okay.
It was done, this is a series of 10 pieces.
All right.
And it's done, I guess you could say, in a horror movie motif.
Ah, okay.
So it's actually a project where this woman who's standing at the door right here was stalked and killed.
Wow.
So this is the images were printed small because it forced the viewer to really get on top of the photograph and almost interact. It forced them to take the initiative to walk up to the photographs and to stand face to face with this very controversial message.
Right, to really focus one-on-one.
And so this is all done in film, and you can see it. They're done full frame, the same way I did the other one. So it's really what you see is what you get, and it's.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
No. Well, what size now is this for the folks? So again,
yeah, these are small. These are 3.5 by 5.
So is that a postcard size? That's close.
Close, yeah, close, very close.
Very close. But boy, look at the drama. So here the lady is approaching a residence or her own home, right?
Yes, this would be her own home. And because I've only brought 3 of this collection, it's you'll have to.
It won't be as sequential. It won't be as
you'll have to use
flowing.
your imagination
You're gonna
a
jump.
little bit.
Yeah,
Right.
it's going to be a little more staccato or random. The bottom of that, was that, my eyes are bad, there's a little line. Is that the fencing or what was that?
The bottom of
there's
it.
a little linear scroll or decorative.
Right, it is. There's fencing, but below where the black line is,
yes, right.
That's actually just a drip from the developer. So it gives it a little more of like a wicked feeling.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't figure out what it was. It didn't look like a fence, typical iron fence, all the above it does, and I just couldn't make it out. So it's really an effect. So that was not deliberate, but it really added
No, it was very deliberate.
Oh, it was
very deliberate.
Sorry,
yeah.
didn't mean to.
That's okay.
Change it there. But anyway, all right. So the first one, the lady's at the door. We heard the story.
Right.
Okay, now let's take a look. Let's see what happens next. So here's our second one.
And so now this is, our potential stalker looking at her through her window, her kitchen window. So she's standing there doing dishes at the sink, and you can tell that whoever is, me in this case as the photographer,
as the stalker,
I'm standing there stalking.
Right.
And what I really like about this is that you have the bars, so you can tell that it's a New Orleans home.
Right.
You can see the high ceilings in the back, and it just gives. She's very comfortable. She's standing there. She doesn't look like there's. She has no idea of her impending doom.
Everyday activities.
Exactly.
But what the bars also do is add another dimension with regard to framing. It's very like Frank Lloyd Wright with regard to the framing of her and within the overall frame of the window sill or the window frame.
Sure, it's very
so it really
film
gives
noir.
another and not so much 3D as we talked about in the Balanced, but still a whole new framing technique because you've got multiple ones going on there. The two sets of bars as they slide apart and together. So really, really neat. Okay, folks, now turn away the kiddies. This is the real drama. We know what what the subject matter is. So this would probably near the end of the series, I would assume, if not the last.
This is the very last photo.
I would hope so, because this is the drama persona. So let's go ahead and take a look at the finality of. And what was the series? Okay, go ahead.
So this, what you don't see in the pictures that are missing is there's actually a struggle.
Okay.
And you can see
obviously a big struggle.
A huge struggle. And you can see the woman in the picture fighting with her attacker.
That was going to be since you brought that up, I was going to ask, do you ever see the perpetrator in any part, or is it all strictly just the victim?
You see there is a break in one of the photographs where you can see the reflection of her assailant in the picture.
Shadow or reflect, which is great technique.
And then in the next scene comes the struggle, and then after that comes the death scene, and she's basically just drug and then killed.
So just drug and killed.
It happens in the kitchen, and
that's the same place where we were watching her wash dishes.
Exactly. And to go back to that familiar place where she felt so safe and was just standing there, and then to have her now displayed this way is just, it adds a little bit more to it.
Oh, certainly. Now, again, and you said there was a series of, 10 or 13? How many?
This is a series of 10.
10. Okay. And was there a title to the series?
No, actually, this one didn't have. I mean, No.
No. Stalker's a good title.
Yeah, that could be it.
if you're looking for suggestions.
Sure, I'll take it.
So, folks, now, once again, this is probably not on the website per se, the extent of the series, but hopefully will at some point be available.
It definitely will
you.
be.
Great. I think this is highly... we've come from the little mandy-pandy stuff in the beginning, just the great architectural shots, and then the familial young men running, and then seeing some of our heritage out in the western part of the city or state. And each time we started getting a little bit more and deeper and deeper and deeper. And of course, not that has to be the last series has to be New Orleans definitive, but it certainly is indicative of our city as well as any others. But I think brought home extremely well done. We just saw a Hitchcock movie at the Classic Film Series in New Orleans Film Festival, Strangers on a Train, and it's that same type of drama, even though this was a lot more contemporary, but the same type of drama revealed in the show as you did here in the photos. Anything else you want to say? Oh, and did we talk about how the anything special in the technique or cameras or anything like that on that series?
That was just done. I did it with a 35 millimeter camera, and it was there was really nothing astronomically significant about how I did that. Rather, the only thing, or the real important thing, is that I left things full framed, and that says a lot about an artist, just in the fact that it's not cropped. Nothing is zoomed in.
Yeah, it's like editing, folks, for a camera.
What
for
you
a
see
film where,
is
in
what you
the
get.
old days, you saw the film. Today, you see the edited film, which may not be anything what the original's like.
Right.
Same thing with cropping a photograph. It's wonderful, but you're starting to put someone else's or the same person's perspective to start focusing on things and eliminating things. Whereas the full frame is you get that, what is it, that old saying, or the new saying, whatever it is, it's say whatever you got,
Right.
So, for the good or the bad of it, but certainly for the drama of it. Now, once again, I have to admit that the significance of this individual, especially, got to be bring home some type of familial, or not familial, but certain relationship between you and the model, because it's just too dramatic for you, I think, to get just an ordinary person that
Sure. I definitely, like I said, I use people who are close to me because I'm comfortable and they're comfortable, and if you have a connection with the people who or your subject matter, then it makes it a little bit easier to really portray what you're trying to show.
Yeah, definitely so. And I think I'm losing my train of thought, but it's just very, very dramatic. And what we want to do now is talk a little bit more about yourself in the studio before we close for the folks. Again, it's getting real close, so I'm assuming we're not getting any callers today. Pity, because it'd be a great chance to ask a real artist some truly important things that we'd like to know about her work. But let's talk again about the studio, and we love to talk about what we call upcoming events. And you've got a couple of those that we really want to mention relating to yourself and your gallery. Let's start with the Lyman Gallery. What's coming up? As we started in the beginning, our city is so gifted to have a great art community that years ago we started Arts for Art's Sake, or whatever its common nomenclature is, but basically running from October or September to May, the first Saturday of the month, each month. Many, if not almost all, of the studios today open for late night traffic, mixing it with maybe music and libations, but more importantly, the exposure for someone who works or doesn't get the opportunity to go to the galleries, just like opening a museum at night and opening a bunch for you to see each month. So let's talk about the Lyman Gallery coming up, because we're right at the end of October, and so folks can come and see you all in the first week in November. Let's talk about the date and what we have at the Lyman Gallery.
Sure. We have coming up on November 6th from 6 to 9, we have our next opening, which is going to be, it's called Fresh Off the Boat, and it's just a collection of paintings and drawings that Guy Lyman has selected for their superb affordability and quality. He does an amazing job of finding quality work for inexpensive prices. I mean, it's wonderful. And so this collection will feature, we have some Russian painters, and we have a few Midwestern painters, and it's just really, we've gone and he's searched all around the world and found just a wonderful eclectic collection to show for this.
So great. So in other words, he's not exclusive to New Orleanian artists. You really have an international exposure here.
We do.
And, well, that's great because, again, even though we love our natives in every respect and everything they do, at the same time, we have to admit there's just as many gifted folk, and to be able to go not only within the States, but beyond to some of the European or the Romanian, Russian countries, and hopefully in the Asian countries as well, that you can find things that are affordable, because today, as we know, everything's prices have gone up, and some of these other countries, because of the scarcity of supply and actual artisans, that their value can certainly rise all the time. So this is great. So you got a preview without having, because I know you could see a lot of these international artists, some of them on television shows, on cable, or sometimes even in other magazines, but it's nothing like seeing them up close. And not a lot of our galleries will feature that broad of a base.
Right.
So that's what's really good to scope, and also at affordable prices, because we have a lot that do bring in major important pieces, but at prices that strictly make it a museum quality, a museum affordable, or certainly well beyond the ordinary person's ability to collect.
Right.
So that's a great feature. I mean, I know I like that as well. It's something I can equate to, and I think the ordinary, because today everyone wants to have more and more art in their homes. I mean, it's just part of our refining of our culture. We all see the value of it. Now let's talk particularly about your situation, and in conjunction with, of course, Lyman Gallery.
Sure. So coming out of this Fresh Off the Boat show, which will show from November 6th till probably the end of December, come January, we'll have a photography show.
Oh,
and,
wow.
It'll feature myself and 2 other artists, and that will run for probably 2 months. We've been running 2-month shows.
2 months. Well, that's good, because I know, we were bragging about how wonderful our city is and having this every month, but at the same time, I mean, literally, there's no way to catch the majority of these galleries. They're so many and so spread apart. In the old days, it was always either Julia or Royal Street, but now there's Uptown, there's Midtown. They have them, off the track. So there's so many that have opportunities for you to visit. The ordinary individual, one, doesn't have the time or the facility to get to those many locations, so they focus on their neighborhood or the area they want. So the idea of keeping it longer is tremendous, because, you feel shorted that you have missed a lot of the opportunities at some of the galleries you did. Okay, folks, I can't believe we're out of time. I want to thank you, Lindsey Roussell.
Thank you very much.
Roussell?
Thank you.
Roussell.
Roussell. Yes.
There's got to be a name. Roussell is Louisiana.
Yes, it's
got to be Louisiana.
Very New Orleans. Roussell.
Thank you so much. And she's nice enough to talk to her boss, and they're going to help formulate a stream for us in the future of getting other artists on the show, because that's what we hear, folks. The more we can bring to you, not just photographers, but all specialties. And if you know of anyone, just like we request, send it to us on email. Time to go. See you in the galleries, and see you at the Lyman Gallery. Take care.
Great.
Officially finished. Well, how was it for you?
That was
it good for you?
Yeah, that was great.